logical. So clickbait also always wins. So these are the 4 tactics that hackers use. Again, at the end of the day, it's not super technical. It's around like spiking up a trigger that's emotional that will make you act fast, panic, rush, blind your logic, and then also, if you're nosy like me, curiosity.
Hey, what's up, fam? This is Saul Levy, host of African Tech, where we're building bridges and shaping futures in tech. On our whiteboard session today, we got Yasmin Abdi. And if you've not checked out her sit-down session, definitely go check that out. A lot of gems there. She talked about her startup, NoHack LLC, and just some amazing things that she's done at many big orgs. But today, she's going to be talking about phishing, psychology, not just tech. So, Yas, up to you.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for having me again. I'm super excited to be doing this. This is actually the first time that I'm doing a whiteboard session, so I'm really excited. But like you mentioned, if you didn't go watch the podcast, make sure that you go take a listen. So today, listen up class, we are going to be talking about phishing and the psychology of it. So I know oftentimes you guys probably think about like the technical side of phishing, but I want to take a step back and like really have you understand that outside of the tech piece, it's all about like the psychology. Like the attackers are really trying to have you understand, like from your brain perspective, how phishing works. So did you know, fun fact, that 90% of phishing actually starts with the psychology, so the brain, not the technical side. So today we're gonna talk about a few things. We're gonna talk about the different means of how someone can get phished. We're gonna talk about 4 common tactics. We're gonna also talk about the psychology. We're gonna talk about AI and phishing. And then lastly, we're gonna end on how to stay safe. So let's get started, guys. Before we get started though, has anyone seen, and you probably have, one of those like weird texts or emails that come in that says like, you've won, click here, like, you've got $1,000 gift card waiting in your inbox or something like that. So I'm sure you've all have seen it's 2025, whether that's via an email. I know I personally get a lot of them, whether that's a text message. Actually, on my way here, I got a text message that said like, you owe $1,000 for an unpaid toll. And I was like, I haven't driven in like 6 months. Whether it's a DM on Instagram, like some form of social media, or a phone call. A phone call these days is actually like on the high. It's been increasing. And with the help of AI, which we'll get into in a bit, like these have become so personalized and they actually sound very legitimate. I know there was a recent attack that we talked about in the podcast around with deep fakes around like a grandma, like getting a phone call from who she thought was her grandson. And then she ended up sending the hacker thousands of dollars. So I would say these are the 4 most common factors or like means in which hacking happens when it comes to phishing. But at the end of the day, phishing essentially is a trick to steal your information. And again, today is like the mind aspect of it. So it's the psychology, and the mind and the brain is the entry point. So now that we've checked off the common means in which someone gets hacked, let's talk about the common features. So these are the 4 common features of phishing. The first is urgency, right? So you have 24 hours to click this link. You have 5 hours or your credentials are gonna get lost. You have 15 minutes to respond to this means of communication, right? So I think the sense of urgency is one of the most like, one of the strongest tactics, because it like plays a mind game on you, and hackers use that to get into your mind. So the second, too good to be true. Imagine you get this email that says, hey, you've won $1,000. Who wouldn't want free money? I want free money. I would definitely, again, like we'll get into the emotional aspect of it, but I wanted to start off by giving you some of the common features. So something is too good to be true. Like that's another tactic that a hacker would use to get into your brain. The third is suspicious links. So sometimes these can be masked, like under the hood. You might click on a link, you don't really know where that link is going. We'll talk about that in a little bit as well. And then lastly is a fake sender. And this one is very hard to catch because, for example, if you're like messaging, like let's say Apple, right? And you are trying to get like contact help from them, and you see an email that says, let's say it's from support, oh my God, my handwriting is terrible, apple.com. So this would be like a typical domain that Apple would send, right? But a hacker would switch this up a bit, right? And they would say something like support at Apple, and they would add an extra L here. The common person wouldn't be able to pick up on this difference, and they'd be like, oh, okay, this is probably a legitimate email because it's coming from what they think looks like Apple, but it's not necessarily Apple at the end of the day. So fake sender is another one that they use to trick you up. So these messages don't look dangerous. At the end of the day, like, it looks legitimate, but they are real enough to trip you up. So now that we've talked about the common features, I'm gonna move a bit. The main goal of today is really around the psychology, right? So I want to take a few minutes to talk about the different emotions that hackers use to really get into your mind. So essentially, hackers are not trying to be smarter than you. They just need to get your emotional triggers like spiked to a point where you're thinking outside of like your logical mood. So the first one, fear. Imagine you get an email that says your account will be suspended, or something along those lines. Like, you don't want your Instagram account to be suspended. So you're thinking, if I even got that email, it would take me a few moments to think like, is this real? Is this not real? But like at the end of the day, I'd be panicking, which would cause me not to think, which would make me then click on that link. So again, this is an emotional reaction that they're getting you to, think in the moment, start to panic, click on the link without thinking twice and taking a moment to like really sit back and think. So fear is the first tactic that they use. The second one is urgency, which kind of is synonymous and like relates to fear, but like something like act now or you'll lose your access. So again, like, let's say you are creating like a new, post on Instagram or something like that, and your account's about to be taken down. So you want to act now or lose your access. So it gets you to think in this like rush mindset where you are panicking and not thinking, and then it causes you to make mistakes and click on those links. So that's number two. The third would be greed. Imagine you get an email that says something like, you won $10,000. Who, do you not want $10,000? I want $10,000.
No, I don't want 10,000.
God forbid. Do you guys want $10,000? But I think this one here is like, greed oftentimes blinds your logic, which makes you then rush, which makes you then panic. So greed is another really big tactic that they use. And then lastly, which is one of my favorite, this is old Yasmin, but curiosity. So imagine you get an email that says something like, see who viewed your account, like especially with Instagram, or like what are those apps that they use that like who unfollowed you or something like that, like click now to see who unfollowed you. So I think with this one, like clickbait is like a thing that gets to your mind and is like very psychological. So clickbait also always wins. So these are the 4 tactics that hackers use. Again, at the end of the day, it's not super technical. It's around like spiking up a trigger that's emotional that will make you act fast, panic, rush, blind your logic, and then also, if you're nosy like me, curiosity. So now kind of moving on to like the AI side of the house, I think when you think about these different like common features or different emotions, these different tactics that attackers use is only going to be supercharged with AI. So the number of emails or DMs that you get that will make you panic is only going to be more personalized. The number of emails that you get that has something to do with act now, like imagine, let's just say you went to a sporting game last night. So since we're in Atlanta, we went to the Atlanta Hawks game, and they are able to pull that information from you online, and they are able to send you now this personalized email that has something like, oh, like, because you went to this game last night, you're now able to win $1,000 off the next 3 games, or like something like, something along those lines, right? So I think like at the end of the day, like with AI, it's only going to become more personalized. and it's gonna have better choices of language, better information, better ability to make you panic, rush, blind your logic, and make you curious to click those links.
Definitely.
So all in all, now that you guys understand the psychology of phishing, it's important to understand how we can stay safe, right? So I will now move to this side. How to stay safe. First, oh my God, let me see if I can get down. Pause. I think it's important to always don't panic, take a step back, really reevaluate what is happening. And then also when you rush, right? And when there's like sense of urgency and you rush, you're always going to make a mistake. So if someone's calling you, if someone's asking you for something and it kind of just seems suspicious, take a second to like sit back and like really pause and look at the whole situation holistically. I think second, check the sender. Kind of what we were talking about, the Apple example earlier. If you're able to spot the difference, and Google actually has something they do nowadays where they have like a verification if it comes from like a legitimate domain. But if it doesn't, like check the sender, right? You'll be able to spot the difference. Sometimes it's not obvious. This is like, pretty close, but sometimes it could be pretty obvious to spot. I think third, which is hard to do these days because we live in a social media environment, but like the less information that you're able to provide online, the less that hackers can make personal messages to you. So I'm gonna just say less info online. I think the more you post online, the more they can create personalized content that's targeted towards you, and then the more you'll think that it's legitimate. And then lastly, I think number 4 could be always ask if unsure. So this kind of goes along with like what I was talking about with AI and like deepfakes and all of the supercharged scams that are happening with AI. If you get a phone call from your cousin, your mom, your brother, your aunt, take a step back, try to actually call them, try to actually call your family members and see like, hey, like I got a call from this, a call from our cousin. Like, is this actually legit? Have you guys received it? Have you talked to them recently? So I think all in all, these are probably the 4 ways that we could stay safe online. There's definitely more, but if I would start with any, it's probably the first around pausing, taking a step back, really looking at the situation from like a 1,000-foot perspective and, making sure that you're not panicking, making sure that you're not rushing and making mistakes. So I hope that you guys were able to learn the psychology of phishing, and not just from a technical perspective, but at the end of the day, 90% of cyber attacks always start with phishing. So if we take a second to like really understand like the different attack vectors and tactics that hackers are using, it can get us like more prepared for the future. So thanks for listening. And
this is awesome. Just a couple of things to add to what Yaz was saying. Also, like we did a phishing thingy on our story not too long ago, and exactly what you just said. Like you can see the URL completely different. You can see the domain that they came from or they're sending you from is nowhere near what the actual. Well, it may be near, but it's definitely not the same thing as like an Apple.com versus Apple, whatever that is. .com. And then also when you think about like automating some of this stuff, for those of you who are more technical, because I think a lot of our audience are, you can do a lot of this through N8 or some sort of like AI agent where they can actually tag your email, because it can read your email and then it can tag it to say whether it's phishing or not. So I think Google and some of these other places, they can't do it because they'll have access to your emails, but you can do this yourself. You can give it access to read your emails, and then you can say, okay, this is phishing or not, because a lot of these things that you're mentioning, it's people not thinking and kind of rushing through it, but AI won't rush through the things. It's going to look step by step. Is this matching criteria for a fear factor? Is it urgency? Is it trying to play into greed or curiosity? And then it's going to be able to mark that. So for those of you a little bit more technical, definitely look at doing that to automate that stuff. And then going back to like the whole sort of like not necessarily resolution, but how do we want to phrase that?
Ways to stay safe online.
Yeah, ways to stay safe online. Like, if you can't go through each of these steps, don't take any action. That's just the easiest way to put it.
No action is always a good action.
Yeah, that email is, you're not gonna, at any point in time, they're not gonna say, hey, you have 30 minutes or an hour or a day to respond to this, otherwise you lose XYZ. That's, when you think even from a logical standpoint, that doesn't.
And that's why it goes into the like logic and rushing and panicking. I think there was also something that happened where a CEO, this was fake, but like messaged one of the employees to get him like $10,000 worth of gift cards, and the employee was like freaking out, but and it came through a phishing email, and he honestly at that moment didn't use any of these precautions and ended up doing it, and the company was out of like tens of thousands of dollars. So again, I think if you're right, not taking an action is the best action.
Definitely. So definitely go check out the podcast. We actually talk about sort of things like in line here with like phishing and also like how to protect yourself. Definitely go check out Yasmin's company, NoHack LLC. They can definitely help you to protect yourself if you have a small business or any size business really now, because they're doing amazing things now in Texas. So Yaz, if they wanted to get in touch with you, how can they get in touch with you?
Yaz Abdi on Instagram. That's YAZABDI. And then Yasmin Abdi on LinkedIn. My email is yasmin@nohackllc.com. So again, like if you are a small business owner or any size business at that matter, feel free to contact me. And then also, if you're looking to transition or break into cybersecurity, we also have a vertical where we help people transition and break in. So
Awesome. Well, Yaz, thank you so much. Again, go check out the episode or sit down. And if you have any questions about getting Yaz's information, you can hit us up at africansintechnology@gmail.com. Again, it's africansintechnology@gmail.com. We'll have all her social media handles wherever you're watching this. My name is Sar Leby. This is Africans in Tech, where we're building bridges and shaping futures in tech. All right, fam.